So this is the second installment of the multi-age management video, and one thing I want to talk about is how this plays into the larger kind of property level and really regional objective that a lot of us down here have of continuing to improve the habitat for the red-cockaded woodpecker. So this is multi-age management. We're not really following like the BDQ or volume guided diameter limit or any of those interesting kind of marking guides or systems of balancing these stands out here. This is a little bit more haphazard. We're just trying to get a couple of different age classes out here. But what I can tell you is that if you really look at the inventory data from this stand and then you compare it to what we have to follow for the red-cockaded woodpecker recovery guidelines, this is not really in compliance with those guidelines. It's a small area. Birds are in here. We actually have a cavity tree right over there. So they are using the area, but if you follow the rules perfectly, you know, I mentioned in a previous video, you want a minimum of 40 square feet of basal area per acre comprised of trees 10 inches in diameter at breast height and up. And ideally, half of that would be 14 inches in diameter and up. If you keep reading the rules, it actually talks about how not only do you not want many hardwoods per acre, you don't want any more than 20 stems per acre or 10 square feet of basal area comprised of pines that are less than 10 inches in diameter. So what that effectively means is don't have a lot of regeneration on the site. They don't really count it until it gets up to half a breast height, then you can actually calculate a basal area on it. So it's basically free until breast height. Then you have to start counting it, and you can very quickly fall out of compliance when you are trying to do multi-age management. What that means, if you think about it from the long term in the stand, is that you are relying on those no more than 20 stems per acre to fill in the gaps that form in your stand as the overstory falls apart. Or the other interpretation is we're managing it without really considering the long-term risk of the overstory coming down. So one of the advantages of multi-age management would be if the overstory gets knocked out by some natural disturbance, you have that younger cohort that can take its place in less amount of time. But by managing in such a way, if you follow the rules perfectly, which we do our very best to do, and we keep our amount of regeneration low, below about 20 stems per acre, you know, I have some concerns over long term what those stands will look like if we're just managing the overstory and assuming it can be there for a long time without fully considering what happens if it dies. So again, kind of a roundabout way of saying multi-age management, while interesting and cool, and I think it has some potential on some sites down here, especially in the sandhills where we don't fight as much competing vegetation as we would further east. If you're managing with red-cockaded woodpeckers, unless you think you can drive your stand forward with 20 or fewer stems per acre, this is probably not something that you can get away with doing.